We are now 6 hours away from what is scheduled to be a pause on SNAP benefits for 42 million Americans. But tonight, there's new information to tell you about. First, this afternoon, 2 federal judges ruled the Trump administration must continue paying SNAP benefits even as the shutdown, which will be a month old at midnight, drags on. And here in Northeast Ohio, area leaders say they're raising hundreds of thousands of dollars in emergency funds to give to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. We'll have more on that in just a moment. By the way, if you or someone you know needs help, you can scan that QR code. You see it there on the right side of your screen at the bottom. That'll take you to a guide of local food pantries. We begin our coverage with the latest from Washington. Here's NBC's Ryan Nobles.
For millions of Americans set to lose government assistance to buy food Saturday, a reprieve. Friday afternoon, a federal judge in Rhode Island ordered the Trump administration to continue funding SNAP even as the government shutdown continues. The White House had said that government food assistance would end Saturday. The order affects more than 40 million Americans. But the court order does not solve the bigger problem. We're now 1 month into the federal government shutdown, and there's seemingly just one thing Democrats and Republicans in Washington agree on.
Your government is failing you right now.
Republicans pointing the finger at Senate Democrats, blaming them for the fallout of thousands of federal workers going without paychecks and the threat of millions being kicked off government assistance at any moment.
Every American who is concerned about this, every American that is feeling the harm, you should call the Senate Democrats and tell them to stop the nonsense.
But Democrats say a bigger crisis is on the horizon, and they won't vote to reopen the government until it's taken care of.
Republicans in Congress are still refusing to work with Democrats to stop the looming health care premium increases.
I'm always going to meet. All they have to do is open up the country.
Affordable Care Act premiums are set to see their biggest price hikes in more than a decade if Congress doesn't extend expiring federal subsidies. Millions of Americans caught in the middle.
It's not our fault that the government shut down, and obviously we would like our leaders to come to some sort of agreement or at least receive a paycheck.
In Washington, Chef Jose Andres' World Central Kitchen, which usually feeds the needy in disasters and war zones, is feeding furloughed federal workers. And across the country, food banks have been bracing for an influx of SNAP recipients as the fight over continuing those benefits rages on.
SNAP provides 9 times the amount of food that the charitable food system does.
I'm proud this place here, where we can get the things that we need.
The Trump administration says that members of the U.S. military did get paid today, their second full paycheck, despite the government shutdown. A budget official saying the White House is using a mixture of legislative and Defense Department funds to cover those military paychecks. Ryan Nobles, NBC News, Washington.
Also today, Governor DeWine signed an emergency executive order to provide $25 million in state funds to help SNAP recipients. We've also heard today from Cuyahoga County leaders who announced that more than $600,000 has been raised for the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. Annabelle Childers has details.
We're talking about human beings, our neighbors, our veterans, our parents, our grandparents. Hunger does not have a party affiliation. It does not care about political labels. This is not a red or blue issue. This is about right and wrong.
Packing into the May Dugan Center in Cleveland, Cuyahoga County leaders gathered to discuss food access, as SNAP funding is set to run out November 1st and throw tens of thousands of people into food insecurity.
I'm hearing from some folks that this may go beyond Thanksgiving. It could go all the way up until January of next year.
Though these leaders are bracing for a severe food crisis, the point of this press conference was to announce a stopgap. More than $600,000 of emergency funding raised by community partners.
This emergency funding will not solve the whole crisis, but it will help families in every corner of our county.
The funding is going to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, which will then manage and distribute resources out to local food pantries and food security initiatives like mobile pantry options. For people in lines like this, they desperately want that assurance.
I'm a 66-year-old senior citizen, and I'm still uncertain, and right now I'm just trusting in the Lord and praying that everything will be okay.
Mayor Bibb says if the government shutdown drags on, this will likely be the first press conference of many, as leaders make sure residents aren't left behind.
When Cleveland is at our worst and when we are experiencing our biggest crisis, this is when we come together and show that we are always going to be at our best when we're experiencing our worst.
And today I reached out to the governor's office to see whether any of those federal rulings on SNAP benefits might impact the funding that DeWine has allocated to Ohioans. I'm still waiting to hear back. Russ.
Okay, Annabelle Childers in Cleveland, thank you. Again, if you or someone you know is in need of food assistance, we have a full guide of local resources at WKYC.com.